Dale ñefe, doole ñefe. Guma leen yàlla waay.
Legend in the making. Never thought about how long the dream would take when your confidence is breaking and you're fighting not to give in to temptation. Champion no be easy. Even a silver spoon needs food to feed a fool full of privilege. Money no be talent, talent be divine heritage. That's your leverage. Hustle every day where you know they see top. Bank alert still no drop.
I'm the brother, yes.
You are listening to In the Mix, and this silky voice is your host, Mariah, or as my father likes to call me, Imbrobs. This podcast is dedicated to celebrating and demystifying the vibrant African sound, that's Afrobeats, Amapiano, and all the many, many eclectic vibes in between. Long overdue, this is the part 2 of the African Girlies series, and to be honest, I think it's the perfect time to do this. It's Dirty December, the girlies are outside. Right now, there are a lot of videos of Tyler, Thames, Arya Star trending. They're partying in Lagos at Obi's house. Arya's looking good in that pixie cut. The girls are outside. It's the season of the girl. It's always going to be the season of the girl. So this is the perfect time for me to dive into some more women, some more African artists. Last episode, I spoke about, like I said, Arya Star, Tyler Thames briefly, Tiwa Savage, the legend, Amare, new legend. But how about the women that maybe you haven't heard of or are just simply not as popular or not as mainstream? They don't only do Afrobeat. Sometimes they're doing a little bit of R&B. They're doing pop. And to be honest, all the people that I mentioned before also do R&B and pop, and that's a whole other conversation. But the people that are a bit more alternative in their approach. I want to start off with the quiet legend that is Asha. Asha is the undisputed queen of Nigerian soul. She basically invented it. I feel like she was born in Paris and then raised in Lagos. Spent her early years dancing and singing in church like all good musicians do. But she really got her big break when she moved back to Paris and recorded her debut self-titled album, which had amazing success. She's credited people like Fela, Bob Marley, Miriam Makeba, and many more singers / activists, essentially. And so there's a lot of messaging in her music, especially in that first album. There's hits on there like Jayla, Fire on the Mountain, my personal favorite, Bibanke. Just through this album, she showed such a deep understanding of music and creating live sound, that melodic nature, and then applying the natural poetic twang, I would say, of the Yoruba language, which I think is really beautiful. There's so many beautiful African languages that I wish we would just hear more often. Yoruba being one of the many. This album did really, really well for a debut album. It had immense global success, and she herself has admitted to being shocked by that. And then she sort of went back into hiding, essentially, because she felt that, she felt a little undeserving of the popularity and wanted to learn more about being an artist because she felt like she hadn't gotten there yet, which I think is a beautiful thing and really speaks to the time. This was, I believe, she dropped this album in 2009. And I would say now we become so insistent on being good at things immediately and being experienced immediately, when the only way to be experienced is to keep trying and to keep doing and to keep practicing until you get to that point. Rome wasn't built in a day. It starts with one brick, right? So even though she was blessed with this sort of popularity, she wanted to take that time to build Rome. That's when she started exercising this very methodical approach to her music releases. She would drop albums pretty rarely again, comparing to right now, but in general, just pretty rarely, maybe every 4 years, tour for 2 years in between, and take time to sort of live a normal life before considering starting her new album and dropping again. And to be honest, I think this really helped her career because that elusiveness really even made her more attractive. And that's, I think, the mystery is always something that attracts us as people. She's a self-described loner, a late bloomer, and overly serious about her work, which again shows in the songs and even in the way she structures everything and the time she takes to producing each body of work. She said she's only been in love a few times and has never really been heartbroken until recently. She's taken each loss in her stride to move forward. And, she even talks about not losing her virginity until she was 28. And so, again, I just sort of really understand how she felt like this immediate blow up of this album was too much for her because she was still such an inexperienced person in general. When you compare her first album to her second album, Beautiful Imperfection, you really sort of see that growth. In the first album, it was more political messaging, Fire on the Mountain. She's talking about there being, problems in the streets and people's struggles, whereas Beautiful Imperfection had more love ballads, more romance. So we can assume that she's really experienced those things over the 4 years that she took to release the next album. I think it might even have been more than 4 years. Single hit off there was Be My Man. Again, that was everywhere. And, we have to shout out whoever really sort of inspired that, because I think it really allowed Asha to have, again, both the political, strong messaging, while also, sort of being in love and being a sweet baby girl, like we all like to be. And that's one thing I really enjoy about her. You can really see the different stages of her life with each album. And so as much as we keep calling for artists to release albums every year, some people are even dropping 2 albums a year, I think it's so important. And I think the music is better when people take the time to really think about what they're producing. The purity of her sound is also really interesting. Similar to Adele, she has almost no features until her latest album was released after the pandemic. She also hasn't really allowed samples in the past. And so Start on Ashaka's Lungu Boy album was really interesting, because that's not something that she has allowed to happen before. So it kind of really shows how she's sort of loosening up a little bit. She's doing interviews again. She's done an interview with Corty that I really enjoyed. So you can really see that big shift after the pandemic. And I think what's interesting about that is that the pandemic, we all sort of felt this loneliness, and we all wanted to reconnect. And so I think it really sort of shows the fact that on this new album, she had features. She's allowing people to sample her work and put her work on their albums. I think it sort of shows her trying to reconnect with the world. The Cavemen is on there, Mariah, Wizkid. She said, she felt the need to bring feel-good, uplifting music. Like I said, reconnecting with the world. So she's really leaning into the Afrobeats feel. I would say she was not doing Afrobeats at all before. It was very much soul. Very much shows that her influences were from Nigeria, but not necessarily of Nigeria, if you know what I mean. This is also the only album she's ever recorded in Nigeria. So there's just all this new experience. Again, I just love that each album is sort of mapping out who she is in the moment. So I would encourage you all to go listen to, first of all, go and listen to her debut album, because that's where you'll find the Ashake sample, Eyadaba, and then her latest album that has Amare, The Caveman, Wizkid. Obviously, she has a lot of great albums in between, so I would, again, encourage you all to listen to all of them. But I think she's a great example of letting your life inspire your art and not the other way around. I want to move on to the eastern side of the continent. I feel like they don't get enough love, enough attention, because there are some really, really great artists out there. I can think of immediately what comes to mind, Sauti Sol, great group of men. But to focus on the girlies, I want to talk about Karun. When Trace was, the channel to watch on DSTV, I feel like we got a lot more music from that side. We were a lot more plugged in. And one of my favorite rap groups from Kenya at the time, Camp Mula, was blowing up on Trace with this Party Don't Stop song. That was a big banger. The song got pretty huge, and they got a BET nomination. And this was a group of, at the time, they were second high schoolers. They were between 15 and 18, and Karoon was a member of Camp Mula, and I believe at the time she was 15. So because they were so young, Karoon has talked about in her various interviews how that was very hard for them. They didn't sort of know what they were doing. They were, again, high schoolers who happened to get some studio time and, again, blew up more than they had ever expected. And so we're playing catch up, and then not having that right support or the right people to look up to in the industry can really sort of lead you down a difficult, dark path. And that's what she's sort of described. So she went away from the group broke up. She went away from music for a while. She's had a child, and she's come back with a bang. She had a colors show earlier this year. I would encourage you to go check that out. Karun, that's Karun. And she dropped an album in June. It was a great rollout in general. And her song Only You is doing pretty well. I'd recommend adding that to your rotation. The album's called Anu. I think that's French. But if you're trying to get into more Eastern African music, first of all, go back and listen to Kamula, absolute legends. And then also listen to Karoon, who was a former member. Going into the diaspora, Brenda Mensah, come to the front. Bree fucking Runway, icon, fashion girl, alternative, really energetic, naturally gifted singer. It's sort of incredible that she's not bigger than she is at the moment, but I am here to change that. I am going to do everything to get everyone to get on the Bree Runway wave. And I love a Ghanaian alternative babe. Like as one myself, as I like to claim, and as people like to claim for me, I must shout out the other Ghanaian women that are doing things differently. She's had such an iconic career in a short time with hits like All Night, Ape Shit, ATM with Missy Elliott. And she's mentioned that Missy Elliott is one of her biggest inspirations, and which is why they've, worked together. If you want a sense of who Bree Runway is, I would say she has a similar vibe to Doja Cat. Just that sort of energetic rap, sing, dance, fashion, just altogether creative, and putting that into music, which I love. She's a pop girl pushing the envelope, versatile talent. Her vocals are insane. There's this clip on her TikTok where she's singing either with her backup singers or like a choir. Again, absolutely amazing. She's floating right above the choir in this perfect harmony. If you're on TikTok, check out her page. Absolutely phenomenal. Incredible features with Khaled, Flo, Baby Tate. And she has teased potential collaborations with Doechii and Amare. And I hope she keeps going. She recently became independent. And the story behind that is so interesting and sad, and really sort of speaks to the music industry, because basically she was doing so well and producing these hits, and she was really in tune with her label. And then, post-pandemic came, all these layoffs that were happening all over the world. The A&R that was working with her got laid off. A lot of people on her team changed at the label. And then they sort of just kind of lost the plot for her. They didn't have a plan for her anymore. The direction was lost. She just didn't have the access anymore. And so she decided to get out of the deal and go independent. And I just think that's kind of crazy to have, especially in the UK. It feels like a lot of these corporations constantly have amazing Black talent that they take for granted and don't do anything with. And that's why so many British acts, I would say both in music and in acting, they end up going over to America because they're just appreciated better and treated better for all the talent that they bring. So, and I mean, I'm happy that she's independent because she can keep pushing the envelope, but that's always hard with having to determine your own funding. She started incredibly strong, and I really believe with some good investment and continuous energy, she can continue that. She has such a strict adherence to self-expression. Again, something that I really admire. Something that we should all be doing. So after being independent, she's dropped 3 singles this year. Just Like That, really good song. Two Bad Girls, and Pause. She's performing all over the world. She's posting on socials. Definitely go support. Being independent is not easy. And this is not something that you will regret. I don't know if should I make one of those stand pages? I've never been one of those girlies, but I'm about to do that because I just need Brie to blow. Go stream her first album, 2000 and Forever, and the new singles, and her work with Missy Elliott is just phenomenal. Again, she's on Flo's latest album. Love that album as well. Definitely someone to check out and support. Staying in Europe, but going French, I have to talk about the incomparable Aya Nakamura. She's a 29-year-old French Malian singer who has completely taken over France. Even Macron can't get enough of her. She only recently became a French national, so it's really, when for people that understand immigration like that, just speaks to just how difficult it is to get to become self-made outside of your home country, and then to do it on such a powerful level. We have to give Aya her props, man. After first debuting in 2016 by releasing music on YouTube, she has consistently climbed the charts in France with 5 number 1 songs. Her second album amassed 1 billion streams on Spotify. Again, she is not a small girl. She is killing the game, and the French love her for a reason. Obviously, being European, you can imagine the level of racism that she faces, but you can also imagine how unbothered she is because she's taking it all to the bank. French people are sort of, especially, obviously white French people, are sort of losing their grip on the country. Europe in general is so afraid of immigration because of how many people are taking over the country. And I'm like, my brothers, continue. Colonize them back. Take over them. They did it to us. It's now our time. We're the captain now. Okay. The fun fact, the Democratic Republic of Congo has the most French speakers in the world. Africa in general has the most French speakers in the world. Way more than France, way more than Canada or any other French country you can think of. And that just goes to show, you do so much to sort of take control of people, and then you get confused when they're doing it back. So I love Aya, and I love that she's been able to take over the French music industry. Her family has roots as traditional storytellers. She comes from a griot culture, and griot is like griot. I think it's how you say it. It's all about storytelling, singing and storytelling, and her family has a rich history of that. So that's probably where a lot of her inspiration comes from. She's been surrounded by song and dance her whole life, and took that with her to France. I'd probably compare her notoriety to Stromae in the 2010s. Remember Stromae? He was really huge with Papa Ute and all those other bangers that he did in the 2010s. Definitely go check out her albums, Nakamura, Aya, and I think the latest is DNK. And her latest single is called 42. Perfect type of song for a wine, and it's always wine time. Her latest single is called 42, and it's the perfect song for a wine session. If you have someone to wine with, you better get on it. It's Africa to the world, man, and we're, like I said, we're taking over France. So more fire, my people, man. Let's take over everything. I don't think I could finish this series without talking about probably my favorite female African artist of all time. This is someone that I felt so emotionally invested in, and they ended up passing away, which absolutely broke my heart before they could even, the potential that I saw. So them passing away before they could even make it there was so utterly heartbreaking to me that I still talk about her. The 90s bad girl, Ebony Reigns, was absolutely phenomenal. When you talk of baddie, she was everything in that. I remember the first time I saw her on the Delay Show. And the Delay Show is it's a talk show here in Ghana, and I could probably compare it to Wendy Williams. It's sort of that messy type of show where the host Delay is constantly prodding at her guests. But here comes Ebony, this gorgeous, gorgeous girl, young girl too. I think she was 19 or 20 at the time. And she's completely unfazed by Delay's slut shaming, her judgments. She has these beautiful freeform dreads. Her skin is glowing. And I'm just like, who is this legend? Like, I'm obsessed. I was immediately obsessed. She had this beautiful, deep voice, rich and powerful. She dropped a No Skips album, had songs like Sponsor, Date Your Father, Coupe, Mamishe. All did really, really well. And they were very topical. She's talking about important things. And if you don't think encouraging girls to find a sponsor is an important thing, then you just don't know how hard it is in Accra. Mamishe is talking about domestic violence and how people survive that and the experience that people have with that. And she's such a young girl. I believe most of her songs were written by her manager Bulldog. And so there's a lot of great lyricism there. There's a lot of story there that I don't know how much of she experienced herself and how much she actually did herself. But again, this is a baddie. This is a girl that was a young girl, hot in Accra. I'm sure there's a lot that she saw as well. So the richness of her voice combined with Bulldog's lyrics really created this sort of amazing persona that I think we hadn't seen probably since Miss Bell. And if you don't know who Miss Bell is, I highly encourage you to check it out. MZBEL. He unfortunately passed away in a car accident she was only 20, right? I think just after her 22nd birthday. And it was just heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking for me. A lot of people sort of just felt the vacuum that she created. It's one of those things that felt like a once in a generation talent. And I just saw so much for her. As Thames and Arya and all these people are out there, I really could see so much of that for Ebony. And so because I loved her so much, I'm still championing her. I still listen to her music all the time, and I still tell people to go out and listen to her music. So please go check out her album. As long as I'm alive, Ebony's music will be alive, and I want to make sure everybody here, everybody that listens, listens to her too, because it's great music, and she was a great personality. There's so many more women that I could talk about. So many young hip artists. I have to shout out to Annabelle Rose, who's absolutely killing the game right now. One of the most fantastically produced EPs I've ever heard come out of Ghana, and that is not an exaggeration. I believe the producer from 99 Faces, another really great group here in Ghana, produced part of that album. I think Annabelle is technically part of 99 Faces. Go check out that group. Go check out Annabelle. Annabelle is performing everywhere this Christmas. She's at hotels. She's at small bars. She's at opening for bigger artists. This is someone that I really support and really want to succeed. Annabelle Rose. Go check out her EP, Something About a Rose. Really great EP. With just, the production was really where it got me. Like, obviously her voice is fucking amazing. And I must add that she's half Filipino, and you already know how the Filipinos be. Just a bunch of Beyoncés out there. So you can imagine what Annabelle sounds like, matched with this amazing production and just her approach to creativity, an alternative approach. And she does a lot of R&B and pop. Absolutely go listen to Something About a Rose. Obviously, there's also Molly doing very well. She had a big boom with Sad Girls Love, with the feature on Sad Girls Love Money. She has a lot of great other great music. There's Fila Lala. She does a lot of R&B and soul. I say her most popular song right now is Call Me. And she has dropped an album earlier this year. And yeah, Call Me is on there. So absolutely go check that out. I believe she's South African. And South Africa, just keeps producing fire people. And Filala is one of them. Filalala is one of them. Nelia, I think I'm pronouncing that right. An artist out of the UK. She dropped this song that I absolutely love. My Man. And it's just, my man. Super cute song. She has these she has all these grills in her teeth. These caps rather. Super cute. I would check her out as well. The Legend has been doing her thing for a while now. Rhea Boss. I think I've talked about her before. Definitely go check her out. Baba J. Beautiful singing as well. And I always love when people are going against the grain a little bit. And I say that because she sings a lot in Ga, which increasingly is becoming less popular. I think there are less and less people that are making Ga songs, and I just love it when people use that more and go back to that. And she's bringing soul to that, and it's beautiful. Of course, other popular people that I have not mentioned, Lady Donnelly and Escort. I saw them earlier in the year live. Absolutely phenomenal. Escort is doing her damn thing, bringing the rap girly aesthetic to Nigeria. And there's some older legends as well. Busiswa, Tenny, and her sister Niniola. Yemi Alade, who I don't even know. Yemi Alade has cornered some markets that I don't even. No matter what you do, you're gonna hear about Yemi Alade. Because I don't, to be honest, I don't listen to her much. Like outside of Johnny, I just haven't really followed her career, but she's still super relevant, still on the charts. People are still very enamored by her. And really, I should sit with that and see what it is she's doing right, because I love that. I love that she's been able to corner her market and keep it going. Obviously, Simi as well. Simi Shola, her debut album, I fucking loved. That album was on repeat for years when she dropped that. I feel like now she's given all her best writing to her husband Adekunle. But Simi is a legend. Beautiful family as well. I would encourage you all to go listen to her and her husband Adekunle. But I don't need to tell you that Adekunle be dropping bangers, and low key is because of Simi. Of course, I can talk about other people that I'm listening to. There's Dila. She dropped this song. Patience. What's the song that captured my attention was Patience Ozoko. I believe she dropped an EP called Good Girl No DP, and it gives exactly that with this Patience Ozoko song on there. Very alternative vibes, very fun. There's Brazy. She raps and sings in Yoruba, French, English. She's all over the place. One song that I really like is Finest. Go check that out as well. So yeah, there is no shortage of amazingly talented African female artists to listen to. And if you don't have one of them in your Spotify Wrapped, there's still more. There's still 5 days or 6 days left, a week left in the year. Fix it, because there are too many options, and they're all so fantastic. And I really want so many more of them to blow up. This is the penultimate episode of this season. The next episode is going to be a review of the entire year of all the music that I liked, all the music moments, what's happening in the African industry. We're just going to chat. Thank you guys for listening. This has been In the Mix. I've been your host, Mariah, aka Brobs. And I love talking music. I love talking music with you guys. I hope you continue to stay tuned and, more importantly, listen to the recs I have mentioned. I'll catch you in just a couple days because I'm dropping that last episode before the end of the year. Merry Christmas. Spend time with your family. Share some gratitude. Go shake some nyash. Go pop some bottles. Celebrate. You made it this far. It's only going up from here. Even if it feels like it's going down, You've risen each time you've been challenged. And so keep pushing, keep pushing. All these girls that I've mentioned, for example, they've had their challenges. You know, like I said, Brie Wondre had her challenges. Nakamura has her challenges with being in Europe. Keep going, because no matter what you go through, the glory is greater, far greater than anything you've ever been challenged with. I'm gonna rock with you guys soon. Peace.
Legend in the making, never thought about how long the dream would take when your confidence is breaking and you're fighting not to give in to temptation. Champion no be easy, even a silver spoon needs food to feed a fool full of privilege. Money no be talent, talent be divine heritage, that's your leverage. Hustle every day where you know they see top, bank alert still no drop.
I'm the brother, yes, do it for my niggas in the Ghana son. Haters gonna be running when the fire come. Hustle for the cash where I'm coming from. Champion with the whole number, talk too much.
Nigga know the whole, but I make 2 horse. Make I hit lights best, make I chop jack doors. You can get it for the low, I can never take a loss. I'm the nigga with the sauce, nigga yams raw dog.
And if I did with your ex, but I'm making no vex. Latex, I'ma pull up in a minute, no stress.
Big Ben to my pull up and I hit it, no flex. All 10s, I'ma get it with the commas, cause I'm blessed.
We be blessed, and we be champions. My champion will be easy.